we could get 25 went all the way into the garage. I think we're only doing 15.
15. I'm pretty sure it's 20. We'll call it 20.
Call it 15.
Call it 17 and a half.
Did we go into the garage?
I don't think we went all the way into the garage. Okay. 15. Either way, even more impressive.
Like, look at wrestling, for example. We all know that it isn't real. The WWE isn't real. The WWF wasn't real.
Wash your mouth out. What are you talking about?
What are you on about?
It's as real.
It's real.
It's as real as the entertainment allows it to be.
No,
Like,
that's dead set real.
there is the
Real.
big.
All right,
That's a big
I
part
watched
of it, right?
Mankind jump off the Hell in a Cell.
Hey man, don't get me wrong. I'm a diehard fan.
That's real.
All right.
I love the idea of a superhero called Relative Strength Man. It's just like some really small dude that like comes to a situation and like two guys are fighting. Like, stop it! If we had a fight right now and you guys were my size, I would totally win. And then they just like kick him and he's like, get out of here.
Wait. Let me get my calculator. So
Yeah.
This formula proves it.
Formula proves it.
Now, we do have parents watching, friends and family. So even though we talk a bit of banter, a bit of trash,
It can't be
still got to keep it
PG.
kind of clean, you know?
Kinda like we'll beep the swear words and stuff like that.
I stopped beeping swear words for the most part. I do every now for like the first two. I just do like beep, but not anymore.
Like The Simpsons, you can say us, right?
Yes. Now, Dan, first of all, everybody, welcome back to the Big Flex, everybody. And wait. Dan, you see the yellow and the pink. I want you to press them simultaneously.
These two?
Yeah, go. Welcome back to the Big Flex, everybody.
Welcome back to the Big Flex.
We have special guest Dan Macri with us today. Hey, let's get it.
Yay!
Yay for Dan. Dan has been a call-in guest twice, I believe, on the Big Flex. And he has also been a guest on my Strength Institute podcast twice, one in person, one via Zoom, and we were in the midst of a pandemic.
I think I was in the first 10 episodes of the Strength Institute podcast.
The first 10?
Yeah, I was in one of the first 10.
Yeah, you were like on
yeah.
number 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah.
Number 4, I believe it was. I have to double check, but yeah,
Not
early on.
all of the first 10.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
one
not
of
all.
the- one of the
If
first-
you were here, you were doing a stellar job at hiding, sir, because we did not see. Yeah, you were in. You were definitely in one of our first 10, and then also in the teens as well. I'm pretty sure. So
Yes.
yeah, all good there. And then I reached out to Dan. Dan's like, "What are you guys doing on Friday?" I said, "Well, we're going to do a podcast. Would you like to join us?" He goes, "Yes." I said, "No, would you like to join the Strength Institute podcast? We talk about science and strength and being just on top of our."
You've already done that. Or do you want to get big and flex?
We want to get big
Flex.
and get on the flex. So we're on the Big Flex. Before we start this podcast, if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. We are up to like 628 odd subscribers.
So how much? So since you started
bad.
doing the posting regularly stuff,
Yeah.
how many have we gone from and to since you started?
So on all the platforms or on
Just in general.
Just
Just
in
since you
general.
started.
On YouTube, we were at like 500 and maybe 50, and it's gone up to about 628. So let's say 80 new subscribers. But when I look back at because it gives you your monthly reports on, was it like more like above average compared to last month or below average? And it's tracking at about 40 more per month.
Yeah,
If that
so-
makes sense.
I still remember like the video coming out of you guys doing your 100 subscriber.
Yes, the 100
100
squats.
Yeah.
That was awful.
That was
And
terrible.
It doesn't
Awful.
feel like it was that long ago. Like
It doesn't, no. So it was over a year ago, but yeah. So it took a really long time to get up to 100, and then it's gone much faster up to 500.
But to be fair though, we weren't trying to get it up to 100. That was when you weren't trying at all. We were just posting stuff.
Yeah.
Just for funsies.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really like we were trying at all. That was a big deal. And we're like, ooh, 100 people. And now it's you're actually trying, and it's like consistently going up every time.
We are
every
trying.
single week. It's great.
It's going up every single week. Yeah, I don't know if you're following along, Dan, but I've been doing one social media post per day, every day, and the goal is for a whole year. And I'm up to like, must be like day 80 something now. Like I'm almost closing in on 3 months. And like I have a TikTok account, which I hate, which is up to like 42 subscribers. And then Instagram jumped up by a couple hundred. Facebook jumped up from like 550 to like 3,100. So that's popped up because we have 2 1 million plus viewed videos now. Ooh, it's very exciting. And then, YouTube's ticking up as well. So
Nice.
not bad. For those...
yes, I do follow you on TikTok. I'm one of the 42 subscribers.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I guess, well, for those that don't know you, would you like to introduce yourself, what you do, what your background is in, Dan, and then we can talk about some of that stuff.
Yeah, of course. All right, so I'll give the quick, brief rundown. So it started in strength sports at 15 when I did my first powerlifting competition. Competed in powerlifting from 15 to like 19-ish when I switched over to strongman. Competed in strongman for a couple of years before taking over running strongman competitions within Western Australia, and did that as the sole promoter for close to 15 years or thereabouts. Then I've passed it on to other people, as well as new promoters sort of stepping in, to help grow the sport as well. And it's great to see all the new promotions that are running events as well. And the fact that the community is making an effort to grow, and more people are getting involved, which is the best thing for the sport. Myself as an athlete, obviously competed in strongman for quite a while. Competed professionally for, unfortunately, a very short period of time with some injuries, but still chasing after a few records and or furthering records that I have at this stage, I guess. So, yeah, that's the long and short of me and what I am doing.
Nice. So how old were you when you made the switch from powerlifting to strongman?
Like formally, in terms of my first strongman competition.
Yeah.
I
guess when you realized, you know what, I think strongman's what I'm pursuing now, not powerlifting.
Okay, so mentally, I made that decision at like 16. The problem was nothing existed in Western Australia, strongman-wise at all. The only competitions were over in the eastern states, and they're all basically Australia's Strongest Man level. There was like 2 comps a year that got run, and it was basically like an exhibition comp around Australia Day-ish, and then there was Australia's Strongest Man, which was July, August, roughly, at that stage. And they were both, like I said, Australia's Strongest Man level weights, and you basically had to be invited to them, and not too many 16-year-old kids that are, mucking around in their backyards are getting invited. So
it's a bit like that with most sports in Australia. Australia just doesn't really have the population for things to just boom and grow like it does in other countries. It's a bit of a shame. It's good to see that it's finally starting to pick up some traction now.
Oh, it's amazing how far it's progressed. I mean, even like the first strongman comp that I ever ran by myself, which was the state titles, we had 5 competitors, and a bunch of them were, people that were training with me.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. Was that the first one that you ran?
No, that wasn't the first run.
No. I only did the one. Look, I'm one and done.
That was the
one from one here.
That was my second year of running things by myself.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. But to say there was more than 5 people competing. There was like probably 5 in my weight class when I 5 or 6 in my weight class when I
was going to use that as an easy example.
Yeah,
so the first year I competed, we had 3 heavyweights and 2 under 105s. Delaney did that one.
Did he? Yeah, right.
So there was all 3 of the heavyweights actually trained with us. Delaney and one of the other 105s were training with us as well. And then there was one of the 105 that kind of rocked up out of nowhere, but he basically pulled out after like the first event or something like that.
Okay.
So.
Try to talk a little bit closer into that one if you can.
Yeah, so I think he pulled out maybe after the first or second event or something, and realistically it was 5 people competing the whole day. But yeah, anyway, even going on to the next year, we had, I think, pretty much double that competitor-wise, and that was literally the second competition that I ran. So, no, it's been good to see the sport grow. But
I've got a question, if you don't mind me interjecting here as well. Like, speaking of the sport growing, you mentioned before that you competed professionally for a short amount of time.
Yes.
I actually forgot about this earlier in the gym. You were showing Megan the RAC video. Can you pull this up and can we watch this now as we view it? Because this is something that I don't think a lot of people realize about you. Is you actually are quite famous, right? You've been on the television.
I don't even know where I would. Do I just type in? What do I type in? RAC boxing.
If you go on YouTube and go RAC boxing ad Australia,
boxing
it should pop up. Yeah. So Dan has been.
Now I guess I can put this as a little picture-in-picture, but it's not going to. Which one would it be, Dan?
You on YouTube?
And it was back when we were all watching TV still, and so you would have seen this ad. I remember seeing it 100 times when it was on TV. So I'm pretty sure most people would recognize him if they saw the ad.
Would that be easier?
Yeah, send it to me if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it right now.
Perfect.
Yeah. And we'll watch this one as we go. Because this is quite a funny, I guess, series of ads that went on where the whole theme of the ad was like someone subs in for you. RAC's got your back, and Big Dan's just being Big Dan. As he is. It's quite fun.
Yeah, it's
and
actually on Facebook.
Nice.
I kind of almost forgot that happened. So let's bring it up.
No, it was a good little bit of fun.
All right, so we're gonna watch it here. I'll put it picture-in-picture. Keep the volume low so I don't get striked. Copyright.
Yeah. So this was quite cool. The first time I saw it, I recognized him. But then Megan watched it today and was flabbergasted. She couldn't believe it. She's like, I didn't know.
There he is.
Yeah, Big Dan's got you.
That would be terrifying.
It would be terrifying.
Nice. I'll put that picture. I'll put that picture in picture when we
Right?
see it.
So you're famous, TV famous. which
He's
is pretty
actually
cool.
done a movie as well.
I have
You've
2
done a movie?
IMDb credits, if you believe it or not.
Two.
Oh,
Is
really?
the RAC ad one of them?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
Two
What
movie
movies have you
credits.
been in?
All right, so there's
It's PG, right? We agreed
Yes.
this podcast is PG.
There is
PG.
a still yet to be released
Superhero one.
superhero movie.
That's been going on for how many years?
I did that when I was like 16 or 17.
What is this guy doing? How is he not?
The whole movie is actually on YouTube.
Okay,
Like you
I've watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Is it good?
Quick!
it's
What?
garbage, isn't it? It's absolute hot garbage.
Probably the best movie I've ever seen in my life.
Can I watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
well,
on-
how can I watch
as far as I know, it's still on YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
Well,
What's
that's
it
my
called?
check
What's it
was on
called? and What
YouTube.
year?
I think it's called like 2006 or some shit like that. I don't know.
But what's the movie
Oh,
called?
the
again?
movie's called Strongman.
It's called
but-
Strong Men.
And it's a superhero movie.
Yes, and the superheroes are the strongmen. It's no relation to the sport whatsoever.
Cool.
Dan actually plays a fairy that grants wishes.
Really?
No.
Oh, you got me all excited for a second. I was like, no way. That sounds like a lot of fun. So what are you in the movie? What do you do?
I am one of the superheroes.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Cool. I'm definitely going to watch that. I'm going to judge you very harshly.
I appreciate it.
And what other one? You said you were in two.
And there's another movie, Australian sort of dark comedy that came out, or was released I think 2 years ago, called Below. So sort of set in a like slightly in the future, like some prison fights are sort of going on. I'm one of the pit fighters that people are betting on.
Yeah,
Okay,
nice.
cool. Like background extra sort of deal.
No, it's enough to get a credit on IMDb.
Yeah, okay.
Relatively minor role, basically.
Are you like pit fighter number 3?
I
sort of in the
have a
credits?
name. I'm called the Bear.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so
Cool, yeah.
I was basically the protagonist of the film. I'm his first fight, and I'm sort of the champion of that particular
I see,
prison.
I see.
And then he beats me, and then sort of that starts his story. So yeah, that was my job.
Do you reckon you're going to get a spin-off movie, The Redemption of Bear?
I hope so. I'd love to. It's so
Bringing
much
back
fun.
the bear. All right. So real talk though. Do you think that if you had to fight him for real, that you would win, or do you think he'd still get you?
I think I'd get him if it was a real fight.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, relatively TV famous. Are you gonna, like Arnold did, pursue your theater career?
Honestly, for years I've always thought I should at least put myself up on like a Star Now or something like that, or find an agent or something to represent me. But
It wouldn't be hard. It's just someone of your stature. It would be super
Yeah.
easy. You'd
You'd
be
get roles,
typecast
for sure.
Yeah,
it's-
exactly.
It's more been apathy than anything that stopped me from doing it. But no, I've actually got another audition to go to later today. So
What's that
Oh,
one for?
really?
Yeah, so the same agent from the film Below contacted us earlier in the week, and it's an ad for Western Power. So yeah, they need a big hairy Italian guy, and she's like, "You're a big hairy Italian guy. You want to give this a shot?" So yeah,
Like, that is racial profiling, but yes, I will be there.
In. Cool.
I mean, I'm actually, as soon as I get there, I'm gonna be like, "How much do you want me to ham up the accent? Like we're going like real like full, like over the top. We wanted
making
the
it-
pasta, or
We're
like."
making it fake, or we just go on like a regular person. Yeah.
Outrageous. Well, I think that's fantastic. I think you should do it. My dad got into acting in like his 70s.
Really?
Yes, he is also an IMDb credited.
In what?
So I don't know if he's IMDb. So basically, when he was in the States, he's like, you know what? I've done the business thing. Like we've set up the glass studio. Like kids are off doing their thing. He's like, I'm just gonna like do some stuff that I want to do. He's pursuing his photography. Like he's had his
seen him
photography
do that,
published in a few different books, and he's like, I'm gonna do a bit of acting. And so he did like a bunch of these acting courses through like in I think it was near Berkeley, so like a good like acting part in California, right? And did all these acting school things, and then part of it was like, all right, well, if you wanted to be able to join the Actors Guild, which is like you need to be in the Actors Guild to do like mainstream things, I think.
Yeah.
You need to appear in like so many like independents, or like you have to do like it's like you need to get a certain amount of credits, I believe, right?
Stepping stones before
Stepping
you can
stones,
do-
right?
play with the big
And
boys.
so he started doing some like people that were doing film as like grad students, doing like their short movies and stuff. And he actually plays like a murderer in one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He plays this artist. And he cuts himself, and he realizes that that's the perfect sort of red for his art, that he's trying to get into this manic art. And someone comes to the house, he ends up murdering them and like using their blood as paint. And then it comes full circle. And I'm gonna give it away. It's called I can't remember what it's called. There's something in thing. I will find out.
beginning?
Yeah,
Cool,
I will
yeah.
find
Link it
out.
in the show notes.
We'll put it in the show notes. It is available to watch on Vimeo. I'll check with him first to make sure he's happy with me putting it up there. But if it is, we'll watch him be a murdering artist.
That's really interesting. I had no idea. When was that? Was that recently then?
That probably came out maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Cool.
And then also, because he was doing a bunch of other ads, advertising stuff, like they were walking down the street and they saw like this big ad for like a retirement village. And like my dad's like in the photo, like, hey. so I was like, is this you? It's like, yes, it is me.
Do they tell you? Because I know that you have to provide like some pictures and stills and stuff to studios. Do they?
I don't know
just
what
use it. However
I
they
don't
want?
know what the deal is
Or
with
do
that.
you have to agree to it?
I don't know what the deal is with that, especially I don't know if it's the same in Australia and the US, but I think he just sort of like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
That would suck because if you're like, yeah, I want to make it as an actor, and then you're on like preparation H.
Well, no, this is like
cream
it's
or
like
something
Joey
like
from
that.
Friends, where he's like,
Yeah.
he goes,
Was it syphilis or something like that?
yeah, syphilis or gonorrhea sort of thing.
Yeah,
It's
and he's
like
on a billboard
what
in
you
the train
put,
station.
isn't telling you.
Yeah.
Oh, look, from at least what I know, and take this with a grain of salt because it might be all entirely wrong, even with the RAC ad, basically the contract pretty clearly outlined, this is what we're using you for. We have rights to your likeness within this context for this period of time.
I see.
If outside of this period, like let's just say they go, we love that RAC ad, we want to run it again, they're then going to pay me again. They don't own it in perpetuity, they own the rights for it for that period of time.
Do you have to agree to it again?
Yes.
Yeah,
So if they want to run it again, I have to sign off saying that I want to do it again.
Cool.
And then they repay me
Yeah.
as they did
fair.
previously.
Well, I wonder if there's any differences between the US and here. I'm sure there is. There's a lot of differences
I'd say
in
there
most
probably
things.
would be.
Yeah, those are all kind of interesting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's circle back. We'll circle back to the strongman stuff before
Yes.
Adrian got ourselves on this giant tangent. We talked about murdering artists on videos on YouTube.
Deal.
Was that Dan said there was a big jump between year 1 and year 2 of running competitions here, and that was back in 2010. 2010, because I won 2011, so that was the second
it
year,
was-
right?
Oh, even before that, no, 2009 might have been the first one.
Yeah, it's
I ran
2009.
entirely by myself, and I'd been running it with Matt Van Buren,
Van Buren.
Van Buren for a couple of years before that.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, in terms of the sport growing,
It's huge now. I don't say huge. It's a lot bigger. There's just in WA now, we got WA Strongman,
Yep.
WA Strength Athletics, Southwest Strongman.
yes,
Right.
in terms of promoters or organizations, that's
Right.
pretty much it.
So they're the three promoters or organizations that are running comps. Each of those run several comps a year,
Yes,
and they run through different federations. So you have Static Monsters, you have Australian Strongman Alliance, you have Australia's Strongest, and then you have stepping stones now all the way to World's Strongest Man. You have stepping stones to OSG, which is World's Strongest Man is the open heavyweight males, but then everyone else, like all your weight classes and all the women as well, go to OSG, Official Strongman Games, which is run by Giants Live.
Yes.
And so Giants Live then do their professional tours around the world. So if you go to OSG and they see you, then you can make this team. So there's actually a lot of pathways now, which is great.
there is. I mean, it's come a long way from when I first started getting to my first Australia's Strongest Man. That there wasn't actually a direct pathway. It was pretty much a, hey, I've run this comp. I think me and this Nevin guy who both won, we seem like we both should be there because we're both the WA champs. Let us in, and then the guy who's running at the time goes, well, I've got no. Yeah, you guys can come in. You guys have did weights. We feel are good enough. There was no direct pathway that year. It wasn't even to the following year that it was like, handshake agreement. There's no real contract.
Right.
Winner of WA states goes to Australia's Strongest Man, and it sort of just grew from there.
See, but when I won back in 2011, it was different from that again. It was Bill Linden's Strength
the
Quest
Strength
series.
Quest, yeah.
So basically, there was 3 or 4 events that were the same nationwide. It was a deadlift. It was a
Four.
log clean and
was-
press.
it was-
farmers.
Yoke,
Yoke.
log for max, dead for max, and farmers.
So 4 events. And basically, no matter what state comp you did, you ran those 4 events. You could have extra events as well. Like we also had a sandbag carry in our states. So you could have extra events, but those 4 were mandatory. And then all the scores from everyone around Australia went in, and the top so many were invited to Australia's Strongest, which I kind of like that as well.
I think, okay,
It's got pros and cons.
pros and cons. So I'll just go for that. Pros and cons was everyone's on an even playing field, and that's what I really liked. Everyone does the same event, so you can't go, Billy over in New South Wales had an easier run than me because his yoke was 300 and mine was 400. You can't go John over in, Queensland. Way easier for him because he had farmers and I had a frame carry.
Right.
Like it's all like for like. That's the biggest positive, and when you get everyone's scores up on the scoreboard, you can go, all right, well, you had the option to do this weight, or this weight. You chose the heaviest one, so you beat everyone lighter than you because you got at least a minimum distance, or you all did the same weight, which is the heaviest, and you did it the fastest. So
Yeah, exactly.
you
It's
win
called
that.
strongman, not relative strength man.
Exactly. It's very clear who won, because there is always the argument of, well, what's more impressive? Finishing the yoke 400 kilos for 20 meters or 350 for 25, or whatever. There's always some argument
So
out.
the weight always takes precedence.
Or just the best score.
Or usually.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
look, with this, it was all set distances. It was always a 15-meter yoke, and then there was basically different weights to pick.
Yeah, it's a good point. It has to be quantifiable, right? You have
Yeah.
to be able to accurately say this person is stronger or this person
Exactly.
is a better athlete because. And if there's too much variation, then the athletes vary a lot as well. So if you want to compete in the sport of strongman, then there has to be a marker or something to achieve to be the best, right?
100%.
Exactly.
I must say though, just really quickly, is that I love the idea of a superhero called Relative Strength Man. He's just like some really small dude that like comes to a situation and like two guys are fighting. He's like, stop it! If we had a fight right now and you guys were my size, I would totally win. And then they just like kick him and he like, get out of here.
Wait. Let me get my calculator. So
Yeah.
This formula proves
This
it.
formula proves it. I would obviously win.
Yeah.
And continue.
But yeah, with strongman, I think there's two ways of looking at it. And one is it's a sport. The other is it's entertainment. And while it is a sport, its origins are in entertainment. The sport was started by by a media company for the purpose of it being a TV show. It was never
Would you
intended.
be able to hit us with a little bit of knowledge there? How long ago was it created?
So 77, I want to say.
And what were some of the first events?
There was a bunch of really weird stuff.
Exploding a water balloon by breathing into it. It's not a hot water bottle.
I don't know if that was ever actually an event.
Was that just Franco Colombo's like show
I
trick?
think just Franco
Yeah,
Colombo's show
okay.
trick. But like,
Did a lot of it
They used to
develop
bend
from-
Rio bars on their
Yeah,
head.
you
They
see
did, yeah.
people
They
like
used to like
the
do
big,
the twist was one of the first ones, wasn't it?
Yeah.
the strongman in the circus and stuff like that.
There's
They
a
used
lot
to be a
of-
part of it.
There's a lot of strongman circus events. I mean, things like you can find video of Franco Colombo blowing out his knee doing this as well, but like carrying a refrigerator on your back with like
yeah.
a weird backpack kind of
I've
thing.
seen a carousel lift where,
Yes.
like the carousel lift on a hack squat, not a hack squat,
belt
like a
squat
belt squat sort of
They had
thing.
like
where they lift like
a weird partial squat they're doing at one, which was like a boat that was on a lever. And
Yeah.
somehow they were adding thousands of pounds to
Yeah.
it continuously to equate to like an extra 100 pounds that you're actually lifting because
Yeah.
of the way the giant lever worked. But like it was cool the way that they were doing
It's
it.
about the spectacle of it.
It was all the spectacle, and to begin with, like back in the first one was Don Reindout, and I cannot remember the other name of the other guy, but they was basically the top US weightlifter and the top US powerlifter, and they were kind of the two guys in it. Other than that, it was like, hey, here's a couple of bodybuilders who have signed up to do it because
They look big.
they look big. Here's a couple of NFL guys that look pretty big, come over and do it, and here's some guy that does arm wrestling that's going to be terrible at everything other than the
Other
two
than
events.
arm wrestling,
Other
yeah.
than arm wrestling, yeah. So it was really totally a spectacle, and it evolved more and more into a sport over time. I mean, you got guys like Bill Kazma and John Paul Sigmason coming in and actually really making it a sport and coming from their proper athletic backgrounds, really training for it like it was a sport. But it's the origins of strongman still lie in entertainment. And for myself as a promoter, the biggest downside to me about that Strength Quest system, for all the positive it had, was it's not as entertaining, I feel, for the crowd or for the athletes. I found it became a bit dry running it at times because it's the same 4 events over and over again.
Yeah.
And part of what initially attracted people to Strongman was variety, the
people
differences.
pulling trucks and
Right.
aeroplanes
Exactly,
and doing all sorts of really amazing
I
stuff.
think one of the negatives of the Strength Quest. So I agree. The positives are everyone does the same thing to qualify, which is great because there is so much variety. It really, you could have a bunch of people really underperforming, but the winner still gets to go across, right? If you're doing it that way, but everyone doing the same thing for those 4 is good. But the problem is you get people that test good, right? I'm going to train all year round for these 4 events.
Yep.
Cool. But when you get to Australia's Strongest Man and you're doing 7 events and only 2 of the ones that you've did are in there and you suck at everything else, it's then a bad reflection again, right?
Exactly.
Like
Well,
you haven't got that variety.
In all honesty, it's the events. They were all pretty static, pretty short distance because they were allowed because it was designed so they could be done pretty much anywhere, or with the least amount of space limitations, and relatively small amounts of equipment. So for me, it always the events worked really well for me. And this is from someone who benefited from it. Like the Strength Quest, the 3 years that I did, I'm pretty certain I ranked top in the country. The 3 years that it was around for, or 3 years, or top 2 at least. But when it came to the actual competition, you start throwing in, things that require a greater amount of athleticism, like the medleys and stuff like that. I was terrible at them. They were pretty much. If I didn't suck so much at medleys, I feel like I would have had a couple more titles to my name, and that's not trying to talk down anyone else. That's saying I fucked up. Sorry, like that's on me. If I was more prepared as an athlete, I would have performed better, and that was my own choice to not train them as hard as I could or be as dedicated on those, and so I suffered for it as a result. But like you sort of said, I tested well in the qualifiers, and all year round I prepared for a big deadlift, a big log, big yoke. Yeah. Farmers just whatever happened there. Yeah. And it did well for me in the qualifiers, but it didn't always translate over 100% to the events. And when it came to running events myself as well, like I said, everyone kind of knows what's going to be there. There's not that excitement about the events being released, and there's not as much fun in kind of designing a comp. And kind of I do like the idea of with comps of having something unique and interesting at each competition. Yeah. I always like to follow a bit of a format of like a heavy carry, some kind of a deadlift or a squat, some kind of a press, some kind of a medley, and then some kind of a load.
There's so much variation with that,
Exactly.
It doesn't even necessarily have to be strongman or strongman equipment. Like if you wanted one, if you really just want to be that, like, introduce the showmanship, you could just go back to call it like classic whatever circus, make some fun cool name and just get people lifting fridges and shit. Like it doesn't really matter, right? Oh. Like as long as there's a variation of something that already exists, there's so much room there where you could do some just really interesting stuff. The only problem is the athletes probably wouldn't be super impressed with like trying to lift something weird and awkward, but isn't that in line with what strongman is?
It very much is. A few strongman federations don't even actually announce the events to their athletes till a couple of weeks out. Now,
I really like this. I think
I disagree.
I like it because it makes people train everything a lot. So you can't just be just really good at the qualifiers.
But the jack of all trades is a
master of none.
Master of none.
The thing for myself as well with that is if people don't have a time to prepare and they've lacked that specific preparation, I think it increases the chance of injuries.
100%.
If
that was my main point.
If you don't know there's going to be a Conan's wheel, you don't train for a Conan's wheel, you're not conditioned for a Conan's wheel, but you get there on the day and you're still pushing it 100%, chance of hurting yourself is much higher because you had no practice. So that was what I always thought was a downside of that. Now, I do like the idea of the be prepared for everything sort of idea. Like, there's always pluses and minuses to it. And it kind of does create for a bit more of a interesting show because no one knows what's going on. But there's enough of that anyway. Strongman is relatively unstandardized, so while you can be training yoke here, the yoke that you're going to use at the competition is going to be a different yoke anyway.
The difference, you can run the same yoke, and the difference of 5 to 10 meters or weight or even the new yokes that have the uprights that go higher than the crossbeam compared to one that I have where it's the same level, they feel completely different.
Oh, that's literally what I was going to say. If we get your yoke now loaded up to 300 kilos and we both go for a run with it, and then we head over to where my yoke is and we both load that up to 300 kilos and go for a run with it, it's going to feel totally different.
Completely different.
Weight distribution's entirely different. Height's totally different. Everything's...
Yeah. So, I agree. I think that having that spontaneity and the variety is cool. I think 8 weeks should really be 8 weeks out. This is what we're doing, and I think it should be no less than 8 weeks. I would say 12 weeks is too long. 3 months, that's a long time to be training for specific things.
I liked 10 weeks out announcing at least a guide of what the events would be. Be like, hey, there's going to be, there's going to be... Maybe it'll be farmers and sandbags, weights TBD. So at very least you can go, all right, if I get in light and start doing some farmers and some sandbags, I can have, even if it's not 100% in line with what the comp's going to be, it's not properly periodized, at least you know what the event's going to be. 100%.
I'm going to go reset these cameras real quick.
I'm trying to find the full saying, the jack of all trades, master of none, because it actually isn't what you think it is.
Adrian's trying to find the whole quote because he saw it on a TikTok one time.
Didn't see it on TikTok. I've read it
on TikTok.
In a book.
You didn't read it in a book, that's for sure. What was the last book you actually read? Not including training manuals.
The last book that I actually read, it's Animal Farm, actually.
And how long ago?
When did I go to down south? I finished reading. No. Not wasn't that long ago. Not too long ago, actually.
Okay.
And at the moment, I'm reading a different book. Thank you very much.
What are you reading?
See, now I'm going to butcher it because I can't remember the title.
Yeah, because you're not reading it. He's lying.
You know the guy from the Hitler time, and he wrote the book about being in the camps. That guy. I'm terrible
talking about?
with memories and names. Guy who committed the whole book to memory wrote an entire book that brought down like a very large part of that whole regime, and that like had like a cult following because people weren't allowed to actually like read the book. So there was like black market dealings between the Jews and
No, this all sounds like
some people will know what I'm talking about.
Okay,
I'll get the book and I'll put it up, and then people will understand what my gibberish means. So I just have a terrible recall to memory, and I can't remember the title of the book. So deal with it.
Right.
How much of a book do we have to have read for it to count?
Well, yeah, I don't know. At least
I'm like halfway through that one.
At least 200 pages.
Getting to it.
I mean, the whole book wasn't 200 pages. The last book that I read. So
150 pages. Who cares?
There we go. Jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. Haha. So that's what the saying is, and that's what I like about that, right?
Yeah, but do you know who says that? Someone
says
that's not a master of anything. It's like, we're not a master of one, but it's better than that.
I'll put this in direct sport terms now. It's kind of like the guy who's the best in the world at the pentathlon going, yeah, I know I'm not actually the best in the world at shot put, but really...
Or the 5K, or this, or this,
or javelin,
or this.
or the 100
well, I'm
meters.
pretty good at all of them.
But I'm kind of good at all of them, and like effectively that makes me the best because I'm better than all these
no one's
individual
disagreeing
masters.
with you.
of
No
one.
one even knows
because
who
you're
those
not a
people
master
are.
of one, right? Sure, but like strongman isn't like that. There's not just fixed events, right? There's lots of different events, and there's lots of different things you need to be good at to be a good athlete in strongman.
That's entirely true, and I would honestly say, I mean, even look at, say, the top 3 athletes in the world now, between Martins, Stoltman, and Novikov, and depending on the events...
This is interesting.
Depending on the events, any one of them could win. You even look, say, the last 2 majors, Martins won, but Stoltman got him this time, And if you change the events up slightly, well, Novikov would probably win.
And this is what's so interesting as well. The last few years of professional strongman haven't been more interesting because you had Martin Lisi's who...
Man Search for Meaning. Sorry, the book just came to my brain then. Man's Search for Meaning. That's what I'm
Man's Search for Meaning?
Man's Search for Meaning. There you go. Boom.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Is that Martin Lisi's he won, but he was not like a giant man like your Brian Shaw or your Eddie Halls or your Thors. Like he was big, but he's not 200 kilos big, right?
No, but I think he's still a lot bigger than what most people are.
He's like 150.
Between 150 and 165.
Okay, all right. I saw the at 150, but you look at him compared to a Thor, compared to a Brian. Like he doesn't look like the same category of weight size. Then you have Novikov who won, who was like 130.
No, he wasn't.
He was like 135. Can you look at how much Alexei Novikov was? He wouldn't be more than 140.
Yeah, okay, but if you want to go and look up weights, it always says Zadrunas competed at 170, and he definitely did not.
Right.
So, like, Novikov was more like 150-ish, and there's even like an interview with him talking about the Worlds that he won, dropping like 10 kilos of body weight during the competition from being sick and ending up at like 135 to 138. Like he started.
Yeah, this says 132 to 135 kilos. I don't know. Either way, those two guys, especially Novikov, if you look at him compared to...
Novikov's definitely the lightest.
He is the smallest one for sure.
Yeah.
But crushing it. And this is actually a really cool example. So Novikov won how many events this year in the finals? 4 of them?
3 or 4?
I think he won 4 of them and came second in one and like this and like crushing it, but came last in the stones and lost to Stoltman.
Yeah.
It was insane.
He ended up getting 3rd overall, I think. Martin's got 2nd.
No, I mean he lost to, as in not second, but he lost his first place.
Yeah.
I mean he was crushing it. Stoltman pulled it out. But yeah, it's been really exciting. I mean, this World's Strongest Man, I think they had 5 past winners all competing.
Yes.
Yeah, which is really, really cool.
I think
you got Brian Shaw, Stoltman, Novikov, Lisi's, and there was one more, I swear.
I'm trying to think because I feel like
maybe it was only 4. Either way, it was a very impressive lineup. It was fun.
No, it must only be 4 because...
Okay. Let me ask you this.
Other than that, the only winners in the last 10 years that could even potentially be there would be Zadrunas, Thor, and Eddie, and none of them were competing.
Correct.
Eddie was there.
He wasn't
competing.
He wasn't competing. Let me ask your opinion on Brian Shaw making the final.
Yes.
Do you think that was horseshit?
Look, I haven't watched all the footage of everything, so I'm just going to go by what I've seen and from the spreadsheets that all get posted online. I don't necessarily think it was. Look, is it the way that World's Strongest Man runs? Just so for people out there, because I'll give them a little context. Basically, there's 2 to 3 days of qualifiers, depending on how they're setting it up each year. I think it was 2 days of qualifiers this year, where they have. Well, this year I actually really liked it. They had basically it was 4 events that everyone did, and then first place after that 5 events that everyone did. After those 5 events, whoever was first place in each one of the 5 groups of 6 athletes was guaranteed a spot in the finals, and then athlete 2 and 3 faced off against each other in a last man standing.
Which is ridiculous.
I don't like it personally. I liked how they were doing it previously, where they just run 6 events and the 2 highest point places after 6 events win. Because basically, if you're the guy coming in 4th, right, and you're the best stone lifter, you're at a disadvantage because your best event isn't really going to be contested at a time where you can get points. So,
or likewise, the guy that Brian Shaw, and here's it, I really like Brian Shaw. I wanted to win his 5th title. I think he's great. And I watch his YouTube channel. He's cool. He's like a really genuinely nice dude, right? Like he's cool. You want to support him. And he was coming 3rd, and here's the problem with that. Significantly in 3rd place. Like, even if he had won, so let's say it was done traditionally, if he had won the stones, the other guy, even if he had lost the stones, I don't think he could even overtake him. I think he was.
I can't recall the points.
I'm quite sure statistically he could not overtake him if it was done traditionally.
I know it was real difficult too, and I know there was it was Bobby Thompson who was coming in 2nd. Great athlete. And credit to Bobby as well, because a lot of people were putting up stuff about
collusion.
Collusion. Brian Shaw messing with his tacky, this and that, whatever.
Collusion? Who was he colluding?
No, there was no collusion.
There was no collusion, but there was a little internet rumor that started, not related to any of the athletes, because there's footage of him looking to Brian, just going, "I can't hold on to it," and complaining. And as he said, he and Brian are friends. He was just showing his frustration.
Yeah,
he's taken his hat off to Brian, congratulated him getting through.
People were saying that Brian sabotaged his tacky, which he didn't, and then he even said no, he didn't.
I mean, look, it's one of those things. If you sign up to a competition, you know what the rules are and you kind of accept what it is. Is it the way that I would personally run it? Look, probably not, but it's the way that they've decided is best for TV. And if you speak to Colin Bryce or anyone else from I'm fairly certain it's IMG Media. I'm going to say IMG Media. Anyway, if you speak to anyone else from, I've spoken to Colin Bryce about it, and he said that first and foremost, Worlds is about setting up the best TV show. It's not about, it's the best TV show first, and it's the best sport you can make it second, but everything they do there is things that look cool on TV. So even if they have a yoke, it's not just going to be a standard yoke. They're going to do cool stuff, motorbikes on the side of it. They did the car walk instead of a yoke during the qualifiers. They make everything look as cool as they possibly can.
And you have to understand as an athlete as well, like if you're going to compete in that, like you have to be prepared for that to happen. You can't be like, oh, I lost, because you know what you're getting into. It's not like they've never seen it before. It's not like they don't know it's televised. Like they you got to know what you're getting
I'm not
into.
saying that there was like cheating or this and that. I just think that it was a really lousy way to run it because the best guys didn't get in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw it out another way to look at it, slightly bigger picture. In the context of this one competition, yes, you can make that argument. But there's 4 major strongman titles that are still really in contention. So you've got WS Ultimate Strongman, you've got the Rogue Invitational, there's the Arnold Classic Finals in Columbus, Ohio, and then there's World's Strongest Man. And
what was the first one you said?
World's Ultimate Strongman.
World's Ultimate Strongman.
It's been run twice. It didn't happen last year, I don't believe. That was mainly
I don't recall that one. I know the other 3.
Thor won the first year, I believe. Matus won the second year.
Okay.
It was run in Dubai. Massive prize money. All the athletes were looked after really well.
Oh, I do recall them doing it in Dubai.
Yeah, Mason from Stand to Submit actually pretty much made all the equipment for
right.
it as well.
Wasn't there a problem with the stage as well for the stones part?
For one event there was. I think it was the second year there was a problem with the stage. It only had
That does ring a bell now,
a 600 kilo limit, so they had to really lighten up the weight of the yoke because they're like, well, we can't have 200 kilo guys running with 600, 500 kilo yoke on the back because we're going to go through the floor.
Yeah.
There was some COVID issues last year, I believe, with it being in Dubai, and that caused some problems or whatever, so it didn't run. But yeah, they put up a lot of prize money, ran a really huge festival sort of style show. It was fantastic. As someone watching it from home, at the very least, I wasn't there, unfortunately. But but yeah, it looked really cool. But each one of these comps has its own little sort of quirk and individual sort of thing to it. So World's Strongest Man is purely made as for entertainment TV show. So World's Strongest Man, it's first and foremost made as a TV show. The Arnold's in Ohio is always considered the heaviest comp, and that also comes down partially to space limitations. You know, the yoke, it's a 4 meter yoke, and that's the heaviest yoke that's ever done, and it's because they've only got 4 meters they can use on the stage of effective room. You know, when you allow a couple of meters either side for the yoke to drop, plus another couple of meters of safe space either side, like it's only like an 8 or 10 meter stage. So
right.
That's all you can do. It has to be heavy static events. You know, World's Ultimate Strongman, the outdoor, they've got a bit more. They did some more, showpiecey kind of events and some real different events. Like they had a silver dollar deadlift with some real interesting apparatuses and like some other out there kind of events that kind of do its own cool looking thing. And then Rogue obviously tied in with a CrossFit competition, so a couple of the events became a little bit more CrossFit like, where they had the 1,000-pound yoke into the 160 kilo log press for reps. So there's a quirk to each one. So I mean, if there's 4 major titles, if you really don't like the way one's run, don't show up and go to the next
That's fair
one.
enough. I really love how Rogue brought back the original looking Conan's wheel from the movie where they push it. That looks amazing. It looks so
awesome.
cool.
The Wheel of Pain they've had at the Arnold's a couple of years.
Yeah,
They had it at the Rogue Invitational as well, didn't they?
Yes, yeah.
You know what I'd like to see more of, especially in Strongman? Do you remember not too long ago The Rock made a TV show?
Yes.
Ballers? Which one? He's done
Oh,
No, like the fitness thing, not the
Yeah,
the TV
I know
show.
the one you're talking about. Titan Games.
Yeah, and that was very fitnessy as well. But they had all sorts of stuff. Like they had some like big showy like an arena style thing where people like watch in the audience and like that sort of showmanship. I think would be a really cool template to add to a
Actually,
strongman comp.
on that show, had Anthony Furman, who's one of the top under 105 competitors in the world, competing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
so like something like that, I think, like a grander scale. If someone like The Rock like Strongman, and he wants to run an event like that,
there's been
there's
talk
just
of
a big. It costs a lot of money,
Oh,
right?
there's been talk of it. And at one stage, there was this talk of The Rock actually himself starting up a strongman / powerlifting /
that would've
weightlifting
been
federation.
dope, yeah.
I think what's happened though is he's brought the XFL.
Yeah.
and
what, sorry?
XFL.
Is he
What's the
just
XFL?
one of the members, or is
No,
he
he brought it.
owns the
So-
whole? He bought the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's
so-
extreme,
Extreme
football
Football
league.
So-
it's like NFL, but more extreme.
Okay, so you go back like 20 odd years ago, Vince McMahon, WWE Vince McMahon, opened
Yeah.
up a summer league called the XFL, and they
Of course he did.
weird
Yeah.
cameras on the sidelines, pro wrestlers showing up doing cameos, like,
awesome.
really over entertained it.
like a
I think
show
it lasted a season or two. Anyway, disappeared, and then they brought back the XFL with a few of the XFL rules, but run more like a sports league. Right at the start of COVID, got through half. It started off really well. COVID hit,
And then it just killed it. Yeah.
killed it. The Rock jumped in and brought it out to save it from bankruptcy.
Awesome.
And now he's basically running it as like a development. It's basically going to be like, as of next year, I think it'll be their first season. It's going to be like a developmental league for the NFL.
That's
so
really
like,
cool, yeah.
say you've got like a player who you want to keep him around, but he's not quite good enough to be in your 52-man roster. You can instead assign him to the XFL team that's connected to your club. You keep him under
It's
contract.
like baseball. You have the majors, you have the minors,
Yeah.
you have the double A. Yeah.
Exactly. So trying to sort of set up that system, system like baseball has, but for the NFL. So
That's pretty cool.
That would be cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because there's some really cool stuff. Like you see some events that I watched that you think would just be awesome if it was in a different sort of template. Like some of the events they do where they have to like pull a stone on a chain to like hit a certain thing, like chop some stuff with an axe just to get to like that. One of them was a sledgehammer. You had to lift this,
sledgehammer,
like break the concrete to make it light enough to lift it up, and like it's just really interesting, very showy events.
Oh, it is. But once again, it comes back to that 6 to 1, half a dozen the other. Like, I agree that stuff was fantastic. But if you get people that are complaining at World's Strongest Man that they're doing a head-to-head stones
Exactly,
to decide who gets
exactly.
through the end,
Yeah.
you're going to get a bunch more people going, well, really, Martins Lisi's is a better sledgehammer stone hitter than what, Stoltman is. But he's got hit to the side accidentally and wobbled off
But
angles back off
if
in
you had
time,
people, if
like-
you had both comps and they were connected, like if you had like look at wrestling for example, we all know that it isn't real. The WWE isn't real. The WWF wasn't.
You
real.
wash your mouth out. What are you
Alright?
talking about?
What are you on about?
What are you talking
It's
about?
as real.
It's
as,
real.
It's as real as the entertainment allows it to be.
No,
Like, there is-
that's dead set real.
there is the
real.
big.
All right,
That's a
I
big part
watched
of it, right?
Mankind jump off the Hell in a Cell.
Hey man, don't get me wrong. I'm a diehard fan.
That's real.
All right.
That is
the
100%
Hardy
real.
Boys, all time
Boys are
favorite, right? But like, if you allow them to just agree that the entertainment should be at that level, right? Where the athletes can compete in, like, there'll be qualifiers, and that's a big part of it, right? Where you have those same stock standard events that everyone does, so you know who's the best and the strongest. And then on top of that, a part of it itself is those showy events where they have to do all sorts of crazy stuff like that. Where you're like, yeah, I am the strongest strongman athlete in the world, but with these events, I'm not good at swinging a sledgehammer, so maybe I'll get it. You know what I mean? Like, it allows for that big showmanship, and you can see it's like the same thing as in the Olympics. People compete in the Olympics, and people are sitting at home with their like dirty singlet, like eating Cheetos, and be like, that sucked. Have you had like a regular person?
Were you watching me when the last Olympics was on?
Have you had a regular person next to those Olympic athletes doing the same thing? You could see the big difference in events. Like, you want your strongest, most amazing athletes to try some crazy stuff to see if they could do it, right? Just to see if they could do it. So apart from the very structured events where everyone has to do it and compete, so you get a level to stack up against like who is the best, versus these really showy events that they're probably not going to be first at. Like, I think that would grow the sport a lot more for people to be able to see and be a part of the big, like all the lights, cameras, and the big arena and all that. Like, I think that would help to grow the sport more than athletes wanting to compete and be good athletes. If you want to grow it, you got to get more eyes on it, right?
Oh, look, I agree. And I guess one thing I really wanted to do before sort of stepping aside promoting was actually do more exhibition-based events. So
Yeah.
I had an event that I was trying to set up, but unfortunately never fell apart. And the idea was to kind of ditch weight classes a little bit and basically, sort of do some more exhibition-based events. So go, hey, I want to do an axle press for reps. It's going to be weight X, doesn't matter. Here's the top 5 women as far as I'm concerned in the state. Here's the top 5 men as far as I'm concerned in the state. And we've picked a weight that's somewhere in the middle. Because if we go 160 for reps, the way I was looking at that with the athletes I had at that point in time, that I thought, well, Rongo's going to win. No chance. Other than Rongo, there's only one other athlete on the list that could even do 160. You go 100, and then the lightest weight guy on that list, he would have won. So you go somewhere in between, and you see, at a fairly even weight, who's actually going to win.
This is like the last time that you and I raced off in the yoke. You know it's coming, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I smoked Dan. All right, Dan, the all-time Australian record holder for the heaviest yoke. And we did 25 meters, 20. How big was your backyard stretch? 20 meters?
We could get 25 went all the way into the garage. I think we're only doing 15.
15. I'm pretty sure it's 20. We'll call it 20.
Call it 15.
Call it 17 and a half.
Did we go into the garage?
I don't think we went all the way into the
That's
garage.
15.
Okay. It was 15. Either way, even more impressive. Dan and I loaded up a yoke to 285. I smoked him. I was much faster.
25 isn't very heavy.
285 kilos?
Yeah.
You haven't done 285 kilos?
I've done 200, and you've done more than you've done. I've seen you do more than like 400 when you did it here.
Right.
It didn't look that hard. And how much have you done total, Dan? What's your heaviest?
Heaviest 632.
How much have you done? What's your heaviest?
I don't. All I need to know is that I'm
hey,
faster.
mate, just numbers, just spitting them out here. So yours was.
I was
So how did you beat him?
Well, we just did it for time. And this is what Dan's talking about.
Yeah.
You take the heaviest weight, I can't even lift up what Dan does.
Yeah.
I can't get it off the ground.
Yeah.
Right? But you make it light enough,
And then you can. Just
my
keep
legs
running.
can move faster.
Exactly.
Right?
What would actually be interesting if we conducted a little experiment the whole way along, even if we got all three of us and go, all right, let's just go 10 meters. Let's start at 100, add, say, 50 kilos at a time and work our way up to a point where no one's going to pick it up but myself.
Right.
And just see at what point it kind of switches over,
Unfortunately, it wouldn't work to Adrian. This is no disrespect to Adrian, but
Why?
Well, no, because you wouldn't win any of them. It didn't matter how light it would be, just because my stride length is much longer than yours.
You're taller than me, and you're way more than me. I would be at a
even at an empty yoke, I'm going to be able to run it faster than you, right?
Yeah.
So, but for people that are a bit more like comparative size,
I feel like my height I get shafted a lot.
Yeah.
Except for like very few things.
Yeah.
I get shafted. Like that stride length makes such
and
a big difference.
it's because even when it's empty, you're not going to be able to like. Hey, 20 meters, you might beat me in a sprint for sure. Like I don't know, but
Like,
you're explosive. Well, I mean, Adrian, I've had some running races which I also beat him at.
Even if we started it as a weight of 0, did a sprint, and then see where we all sort of went there and just checked over time at what point it crossed over. Because I mean, and I've got no problems, but even right now, if we loaded up the yoke, I'm sure there's going to be to a point that you're probably going to beat me, and it's probably going to be that 285 to mid 300s kind of range. You're probably still going to be quicker than me. Yeah. But at some point, I'm 350 to 400 plus.
You would, 100%. Yeah, you take over. Yeah.
And I'm just not going to be able to lift anything that you guys are lifting up around. I've only ever even played around with and lifted up to I think it was 200 one time. Yeah. And that felt really heavy. You guys are crazy.
My yoke doesn't go that light.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your yoke empty?
Okay, so the yoke empty is 230 roughly, and then it's got 2 trays that go on the side, so I can load barrels or whatever onto, and I consider them part of the yoke. It was always intended they'll be part of the yoke, so it's 270 empty.
Empty. Yeah.
But to keep for simplicity with warming up, I've got a pair of 15s, and I've got it's got 8 pins, and then it's got 2 more pins that sort of stick out sideways, so you put ties and wheels and interesting looking stuff on there. I've got a 15 either side that I put on those, so it lives at 300.
Yeah. So for people who don't really understand like what a good or impressive yoke is, or a heavy yoke or not a heavy yoke, I don't really do strongman a whole lot. I barely do any strongman stuff. And I think it was the second or maybe third time that just playing around on a Saturday, I picked up the yoke and walked with it, and I got a 200 after like 2 or 3 goes. I'm not the strongest person, but I'm not a weak person either. But that was like second or third time. And when you say like mine doesn't start with anything under 300, like that, for someone at, let's say, like my height and weight, what do you think?
Well, you're 82 kilos. He'd be in the
what's a competition?
He'd be in the
yoke
90
for?
kilo weight class. He'd be in the 90 kilo weight class because.
What do you reckon would be like something I'd have to lift?
Well, what's
to
the 90
do well in
kilo?
comps?
So the 105 kilo record is 500 kilos.
Yes.
Yeah, for 4 meters.
Yep.
So 500 kilos for 4 meters is the 105s. 90s.
I don't know if there's actually an official record that's been set, but if I'd say take 10%, take 10 to 15% off. So like 450 would be for a similar short 4 meter run.
Yeah.
450 would be the mark that I'll be looking at.
But I mean that's sort of like an Australian standard, right? But if you go to competitions, there was a competition that there was a 400 meter yoke for the 105s for just recently, right? So for a 105er, you want to be doing 400 up to 400 kilos, and for a 90 kilo competitor, probably 350.
Once again, that's national level.
That's national level competitions. Yeah.
So 90s at Southwest Strongest Man a couple of weeks back, I believe had like a 310, 320-ish yoke.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. And that was for 10 meters.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Cool. Yeah.
So before we finish up, which will be soon, and we'll get some burgers, Crispies.
Sounds good.
You're the current Australian record holder, 632 yoke for 4 meters.
Yes.
What are the rules around that? You can drop it as many times as you want. Is there a time limit?
90-second time limit, just like any other strongman event. Drop it as many times as you want, and it's
You just have to move it that
just got to move 4 meters.
You can't slide it, but you can pick it up and lurch forward if you need to.
Bunny hop it along. The idea with no sliding isn't you can't pick it up and drop it forwards. Sliding is basically when the yoke's in contact with the ground, so you're not carrying the full weight.
So
and
it doesn't
your feet
come off the ground.
Yeah, so if it's sliding and you're still pushing with your feet as if you're pushing into like a big sled, that's when sliding comes into it.
Yep.
Now, certain surfaces it doesn't apply. Like say when I did the last yoke was on gym mats, right? So you're 25 mil, thick rubber mats. When the yoke hits those, it's not sliding anywhere anyway.
Yeah,
like
it's not going to move. It's too heavy. Yeah.
It gets gripped onto it. On polished concrete, that's when sliding comes into it. So the sliding rule is it's surface specific. So polished concrete, even so the bitumen outside, you probably could get a bit of sliding.
You can get a bit of sliding on it, yeah.
Not quite as much as the polished concrete. That's really where the sliding rule comes into.
Okay.
So yeah, it's 90 seconds to move that weight from point A to point B.
Okay. And you have to do some drops in there. What is the most yoke you've done for about 4 meters where you don't have to drop?
With no drops?
No drops.
Most I've done, as in physically completed was 585.
So 585, 4 meters, no drops.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel I could do more than that now. I haven't tried to. 5-6 weeks, we'll find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, between 585 and I good day, everything perfect. I feel like 600 to 610 is the most I can do unbroken.
Yeah.
Anything more than that, honestly, I'm going to be dropping it and repicking it and doing short runs.
Right.
It's a lot of weight.
At this stage, too heavy.
It's a lot of weight.
It's a lot of weight. Yeah, and before we go on any further, something's been really bothering me, all right, about the books before. I butchered my explanation. Yeah. Right, the book that I've read was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And the other book, was the explanation of that book that I gave was actually about a book called The Gulag Archipelago.
Okay.
So it's a totally different
So you're
book.
just confusing books and titles now?
Well,
it's almost as if you didn't actually read these books.
Well, they're both about the same period in time.
I can read synopsises too. I mean, I don't call it reading books.
One is about a person's experience and like the search for meaning, and the other one's about something entirely different, which is, I feel like I should clear that up because it's like kind of like historically
People that have
like
actually
a big
read
deal.
people
Exactly.
that have actually read the books should be like, this guy's full of shit.
No, I was explaining another book. So I read that one and I'm reading the other one and I mixed them both up. So
Okay.
yeah, just so that all of the Holocaust survivors don't get mad at me for butchering the explanations. to those.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, what was the last book you read? And you?
The Scientific Principles of Strength Training
Last
by
book,
Dr. Mike
You
Ursutel.
said not training journals and stuff.
No, I said not training manual. That's not a training manual. It's a book. It's like several hundred pages
I
long.
don't read training manuals. I'm just awesome.
last book that I read like front to back, I think it was Incredible Hulk Volume 630 something.
Nice. Awesome.
All
All right. Dan, thank you so much for coming on. We're excited to see how your yoke records keep progressing.
Absolute pleasure. If you don't mind, can I just quickly say something about that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, all right. So, planned next attempt is going to be the 28th of August at Judgment Day down in Bunbury, Perth Southwest.
Yeah.
On top of that, I'm still in the process of finalising everything, but I'm doing it as a bit of a charity sort of event as well. So,
Nice.
Cutting a relatively long story short, my dad was diagnosed with inclusive body mitosis, which is a muscle wasting autoimmune disease, about 12 months ago. And being a relatively misunderstood and unknown disease, there's very limited funding in it whatsoever. And in fact, he's actually part of the first clinical trial for a direct medication to treat it
Oh, wow.
wow.
in the world. So I'm sort of doing it as a bit of a fundraiser to raise money for the Myositis Foundation. So details in terms of how to actually donate everything will become available in the future, but I'd love to send some details through to you if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
send them
sharing
through
that
to me,
for us.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
I won't put this one up straight away, and then when you have it, I'll have it all in the description.
No, that'd be fantastic.
Cool, man.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, there you go. It's all for a good cause as well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool.
Oh, 655 is the weight I'm going for.
655. Ooh.
655. I thought you
Yes.
said the most you've done unbroken. Was it the most you've done or the most you've
Most
done
you've done
unbroken?
is 632, but not unbroken. But he's done
So
okay.
632 is the most
Yeah.
I've done. I'm trying to bump it up a little bit, you know.
Okay.
All right.
What's the world record?
World record is 7:13 by Brian Shaw.
7:13 Brian Shaw at a Arnold Classic.
That was at the Arnold
Same
Classic,
deal.
yeah.
4 meters, as many drops you want, 90
4
seconds.
meters, I think he dropped it 2 or 3 times during that. So
Well, okay, so
yeah.
it's a pretty quick run then.
I mean, if you
Can you pick up your game a little bit?
I know.
Mate, he only dropped it twice. Mate, sort it out, all right? 632 dropping.
Well,
713.
okay,
Sorry,
let's-
just real
let's-
Can you get a
quick,
720 at
Real-
least?
Real quick, how many times have you lifted 600 kilos?
I want to just refer back to this one time that Dan and I raced yokes. Okay, no.
I'm gonna throw it out to relatives, like relative things as well. Like I'm barely 6 foot. You know, I'm getting shorter as time.
You
goes
are
on
getting
as well.
short. You used to be taller than me.
I have. I've
Really? Yeah, no,
legitimately,
sure.
I've gotten short. I've lost about 5 centimeters.
Damn.
He was like 6'2", and now he's like, yeah, I'm
Barely
taller
6
than that.
foot.
Wow.
Yeah,
do you think that's from all the yoke and all that sort of stuff?
110%. Put 500 plus kilos in your back every week for a year and a half straight. You're gonna get a little shorter.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, you go relative stride length. I figured I'm having to take like 16 to 20 steps to get the run done. Brian's only taking 10. So
As we 6'8".
Yeah.
Tall boy?
6'8", 6'9",
Yeah,
and
Fair enough.
incredibly fucking strong. So.
yeah, that will
There's
do
that.
it.
That also
will do
helps.
it.
Yeah.
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 Awesome. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Like it if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we will catch you next time on the Big Flex Podcast.
See you next time.
Catch you.
everybody.
Thank you.